Okay, what I'm going to show you today is how to make the base elements to these two gorgeous pages. Okay, so the first thing we're going to show you how to make are the flower elements and the little flourishes there. Okay, so what we're going to need is our base pad on top, and this is our set of 3, and they're called Romantic Curve dies. Okay, and if you notice they're grey. We also have some blue dyes, so the grey dyes, to remember which pads to use, the grey dyes go with the grey pads and the blue dyes of this sort go with the blue pads. And this is a 2-in-1 cut and emboss. So we're going to use this die here. So just pop that there like that. And then our flower die, which is also going to go right next to it. And then our scrap piece of black over the top. Okay. Then we pop our C pad on top of that. Okay. So sometimes they get a little bit stuck in there, but that's okay. It means it's cut through really well. So we just pop our flowers out. Really easy, and our die out. So there we have all our flowers. So I'm just going to pop those aside. Now, so that's cut that out, but what I want to do now is show you how to emboss it, the little pattern on the other side. So what we need for that is our base pad again, and our floppy mat on top of that, the cutting part, and our embossing pad on top of that. And I'll just go a little bit slower with embossing just to make sure that it's going to push that embossing part through really well. Okay. Alright, and what you'll need to do then is get your piercing tool and just pop out those little extra bits that you don't need. Okay, now that's in there quite well, so I just pop the piercing tool just in the top one there just to release the cardstock from the die. It just helps to push it out. Okay, and once I've got a hold of that on the other side, see there, then you just gently pull it out. Okay, and then you have your gorgeous embellishment. I might just pop that up against the pink, you might be able to see that better. There we go. Okay. Alright. Now, on our layout, I don't know if you can tell by looking at that, but this one here is slightly shorter than this one here. And that's because this one gets put on in whole, but this one actually gets cut in half and spread apart a little bit so it appears to be longer. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I have my matted photo all ready to go, and what you need to do for that bottom part is just cut across like that on an angle and apply some glossy accents. Now use it sparingly because you don't want it oozing out all over your photo. You just pop that over till it reaches the end of your photo or thereabouts. Alright, so it looks like that. Okay, so the next bit I want to show you is how to do the cherry blossom flower. So that's these two bits here, and on it says to use pad A and D. So pop them down there on like that, pop our cardstock on top, and then our cutting pad D on top of that. Alright, there's our flower elements. Now this little one can be a little bit tricky to get out. So I usually just pop the centre out and then gradually ease that under there, just to help lever it up a little bit. Okay, so there we have it. Right, and then what you do is you go ahead and do the same thing again with a piece of the mulberry, so you have the two different colours. Alright, so we'll get our pink flower that we've just done. What you need to do next is pop a hole in both of those, because the die doesn't put a hole in the middle of the flower, so just pop them in the centre. So there's our holes. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is get our blending tool and just edge all the mulberry pieces that you have, all the flowers and the squares and mats and everything. And I'll just show you how to do that with this flower. So I'm just using black soot distress ink and a blending tool. You're just going to lightly go around the edges of all the flowers like that, just to give it a little bit of depth. Okay, so next thing we'll do is assemble the flower. So you just need a little rhinestone for the centre. So you're going to put the little black one on top first to the pink one. Okay. Alright, and then what you can do is just get a bone scorer just to curl up the petals a little bit. So you're just going to curl them up like that. Okay. And there you go. Okay, and the next little bit we're going to do is these squares. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. Now what we're going to use is Stays On ink, because it's a solvent ink and it'll dry extremely fast on plastic. Within a few seconds it's dry. Alright, so we just ink up our stamp. Alright, and just stamp it down on the plastic. And always put your lids straight back on your ink pads, because they will dry out really quickly if you don't put the lids back on these particular type of ink pads. Alright, so there's our stamped image. And then all you need to do, now that should be dry now, so then all you need to do is get a square punch, and we're going to punch out 3 squares. Just anywhere on there will do. It's your third one. So there we have our 3 squares. Now once you've gone ahead and edged all those with the distress ink like I showed you with the flower, you're just going to pop them on there like that. Okay, just with a little bit of glossy accents. Just use that sparingly, and then you'll pop a little rhinestone in the centre of that. Alright, and that's those. Okay, the next bit I'm going to show you is how to stamp using the same ink on the strip of plastic. Okay, that goes across the bottom of the second page, which is down there. And we're going to be using this gorgeous Sakura Flourish stamp. Alright, so again, inking it up nicely. And we're just going to leave a small gap in the centre. So we just need to go right to the end of the plastic. Okay, and then again on the other side. And there you go. And there you've left enough room for the flowers in the middle. Now to attach that, we're not going to use super tape because you'll see it through the plastic. We're going to use vellum tape. Although it wasn't designed for plastic, it is quite good for plastic anyway. It was designed for vellum, but as you can see, it's really good. You can't see it. So the way to put vellum tape on, now I just keep it in my little plastic box because, and I've just cut a centre out at the top to pull it out with, because if you just have it lying around your desktop, because it's sticky around the edges and it gets stuck on your table, and it'll pick up all sorts of little bits of dust. And when you put it underneath, because it needs to be completely clear, you will see all those little bits of dust. So this is the way I keep it clean. Alright, and I just cut off what I need that way. So you just cut a little bit off, you don't need a lot. And here's the strip that I've made previously. Now the way to do it is just to pop a bit on your paper, like that, roughly where the end of the flourish is going to be. And you need to rub it and keep rubbing it until that top bit lifts, until you can feel it really lifting. You see it's curling up there? Alright, and another bit on the end, and then just simply apply the plastic to it. And you don't need to push down really hard, just push it down gently. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so once you've done that, then you can go ahead and stamp across the top of the mulberry. And when you stamp that, stamp them close together. You're not going to leave a gap like this, like you did on the plastic. Okay, and then you attach that to the base page. Now when you do the base page, at the start, you're just going to cut a 9" by 9" square out of the centre, so you can use your trimmer and go all the way around. Now it doesn't matter if you trim a little bit too far up here, okay, and a little bit too far that way, as long as the cut is made, because those lines you're not going to see once your mulberry's on top, so that's quite fine. And it's much easier than just using your trimmer and coming up so far and cutting the rest out with scissors, so that's okay to do it that way. So then you would just attach the mulberry with some super tape and just centre it like that. Alright, so that's nearly all the stamping that you will need to do, except on the first page. You'll notice that we've used the same flourish. We've used it across the bottom here, so we do that before applying this strip, and then there's one coming down the side here. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and mount all your photos on their mats and put all the embellishments together and then pop them on your page. So they are the essential parts that you need to know about this layout.